How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the two trades I took on NQ. Both got stopped out. I technically took three trades. One of those was kind of an accident, but we'll get into those in just a second. Looking at NQ on the daily time frame here, you can see we came down, bounced off this zone here. That was the low of the day. Had a really aggressive sell-off in the morning, kind of chopped around. And then in power hour, the last hour of the day, we really pushed up. So we'll take a look at some of the zones that I was watching and why I was watching them. So this was an area that we had seen resistance quite a few times. A lot of swing highs at this point. I marked this in the intraday session, but this was kind of a recent swing low on the hourly time frame. We had yesterday's low of day, then we had a previous all-time high, then we had this zone here that was an area that acted as support a few days, resistance others, and then yesterday's high didn't get up here, so we won't dive into that too much. Right off the gate, we just dumped, right? As soon as the market opened, it tanked pretty hard. I was watching for potential bounce or continuation, a break and retest of these zones. We did get a little bit of a slowdown here, right? You see volume kind of dropping off here. We get a really low volume push up, and then it tanked right through it and made new lows. This is one trade that I wish I was paying more attention to. We obviously had some bearish momentum. I was watching to see if we'd bounce and reverse here or come up and, form a lower high and continue. This was the lower high. I just missed it. And if I turn it to the 1 minute time frame, I can zoom in here. We had a pretty nice area of support here that we broke and got continuation. So I was watching this and considering puts, shorting it once we had this break here. Reason being is that we had kind of a low volume on this bounce. And you see volume start to pick up, and volume continues to pick up as we break this low a day here and break this support that we were holding for the past 15 minutes or so. So when volume picked up here, I debated getting a contract to the downside. I did not, and then it dumped really fast without me. So that one is one that I missed. You can also say that we had a potential bear flag here, however you wanted to, and that would have been an even better entry, but that's something that I missed. I think I was maybe paying too much attention to a potential bounce. Not that I was looking to go long necessarily, but I guess I just didn't realize the magnitude of this dump. And I should have, because we had a lot of momentum coming into this. So that was one that missed me. I hesitated and it went without me. So the first trade that I took, and I'll remain on the 1 minute here. It's a little bit clearer, and then we can look at it on the 5 minute. So broke through yesterday's low day, broke through this point that we bounced from on a previous day, came down, formed a little bit of a lower high, right? Rejecting off this level, came down and hit this. I was hindsight 2020, right? I was debating getting puts in here, looking at how we were rejecting off this 18,420 level, just wicking off of it, and how volume was kind of dying down on that push up. I didn't. In my mind, I was thinking we might be a little bit overextended at this point. It's getting into the trend pretty late, so didn't take it, but we did move down to this next zone, which was a nice 30-40 point move. But with that saying, we touched that zone and ripped out of there, and you see the volume was pretty high as we reversed. Bullish engulfing, continued to move up as we came down and started retesting this level. So we got 1, 2, and I believe I got in on this third 1 minute candle here. To me, it looks like we had set a low, that we had exhausted the selling, that we formed a higher high, right? We had this lower high bounce, get a lot of bullish momentum, form a higher high, come down, and we're holding this area that was previously resistance, holding it as support. I got in, I set a limit buy right at 18,420. So right here is where I entered. And my target was this area right in here. So I set a sell order at 18,440. My stop loss was below 18,410 because this kind of, you can see we're holding this area a little bit before we broke down. So I had a 10-point risk for a 20-point reward, 2-to-1. I was risking $20 to make $40. This candle here came less than 4 points of filling my orders. So that was, what are we at? 3.5 points away, essentially, is what I'm looking at. So we did push up out of this area, and then we came down, and this candle stopped me out right here. From there, we kind of formed this hammer candle and then made our way up to my target. So lesson here, I should have waited. So let's take a look at the 5-minute. So what I was watching on the 5-minute was that we had this, right? We had this massive volume here, this lower wick. Then we had increasing volume here as we came down and touched and closed 2 consecutive green candles. Then we had still pretty solid volume as we were breaking up. I entered on this candle, right? So as this candle was forming is where I entered right here, targeting right here, stop below right here. What would have been a slightly better is to wait for this 5-minute like confirmation of a higher low, because we had a low, a lower low, then we form this swing high, then we form a higher low here, and then we get that move that I was looking for. So I think just being a little bit more patient on that would have played out had I entered, on this candle with this higher low to go off of. Could have entered maybe, a little bit lower somewhere in here, base my stop below these 2 wicks, this higher low, and then target that same level. And we did get that to work out. So I came within about 3.5 points of filling my take profit, and having a really solid trade here. Got stopped out and the move happened. That happens. That's going to happen, especially if you jump into a trade a little early like I did. So that was my first trade of the day. Something that I learned today. So last week I had a trade where I got stopped out, and then I came back 20 minutes later only to find out that I was in a position that I wasn't expecting to be in. And I realized today, because it happened, the exact same thing happened today. And I understand why. It's because when my stop order got hit, when my stop loss got hit, it doesn't cancel my other take profit. So for example, I bought a long position. I had a sell stop here, and I had a sell profit here. It hit my stop, but my sell profit never got filled. So I still had a sell order hanging out up here. And you could look, and it rejected. So that would have actually, I did make money on this, but I got out of it immediately. So I made about $11. It moved, 5 or 6 points, and I got out because I realized what had happened. Benefit of that is that I learned why this happened. I realized that my orders weren't canceling, and I need to manually do that when I get stopped out. So that's something that I'll remember, and I'm glad I at least learned that today. So should have held it. We dropped about 40 points or so from that entry. If you look at that, that's actually an incredible short entry. But I, once again, just realized I had an open position when I wasn't expecting to. So I got out as soon as I could. Just market sold, cleared everything. Like I said, made $11 profit or something on that. So had a $20 loss here, $11 profit here on an accident. Would have been a great entry for a short, but nonetheless. All right. Now, later in the day, and normally I don't stick around to trade this late in the day, and I shouldn't, because you can see we just get this chop. We had this huge drop into this choppy range. One thing that I could have done, is trade the range, right? How many times do we bounce off this point? Like, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, almost 6 here. But these were, 20, 30 point swings. That's a decent trade, because we also had like a clear resistance in here. So, you could have traded this range, and I didn't. But I did take one last trade. So this was an accident. I don't really count that because I was not planning on taking this trade here. So in terms of trades I meant to take, we had one in here, just a few points off of hitting my profit target. And my last trade were calls on this candle here. So I'll throw on the 9 EMA because this kind of played a part. And I think I might take off the 9 EMA for trading tomorrow and just see how I like it. I think sometimes I might get caught up in it. So we were below the 9 EMA. We were rejecting off of it all day. Couldn't get a close above it. But then we see this really high volume here where we can't form a lower low. Like we still are unable to form a lower low. And we get this bounce and this higher volume compared to, previous 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so. A little bit higher volume where we form this low and bounce and reclaim that 9 EMA. We come down and we close and hold it. We hold this level and we hold that EMA here. And I got into a call, essentially a repeat of this, right? I got into a call here looking to hit that previous day low. So this was actually, about a 25 point profit target. And I set my stop below this wick here. So I had, let's take a look here. Maybe like a 9 point, less than 10 point stop for about 25 point reward. We dropped here. This candle got me out. So that was a quick loss. Like I said, probably shouldn't have been trading during this time. This is a little bit later in the day when volume gets pretty low and you get some chop. So I think I just wanted to take a better trade on the day. And I thought that, this high volume bounce, reclaiming that 9 EMA, that I felt pretty confident that we had set our low for the day, which we did. And that we'd kind of reverse, which happened later in the day. I just in at the wrong time. Another reason I want to show you why I felt like we were going to get a bounce there is if you looked at the 1 hour, and that's a little messy, but if you look at the 1 hour time frame here, we had sold, came down, hit this demand zone, bounced and closed this hour candle, looking like it might reverse, right? Looking like we'd put a bottom in as well as during the day. And this candle hadn't been formed yet. We were still maintaining this area on this hourly candle as well. So with us coming down, forming a bottom, unable to break lower, I thought we were gonna get a reversal, which we did later in the day. But it is what it is. I shouldn't have been trading at that point. Those were the 2 trades I took, 3 technically. 1 was a mistake, as I said, but I learned why that happened, and at least I can prevent that from happening again. I want to look at ES because I was primarily watching NQ today, but ES had an incredible setup, absolutely perfect in terms of what I would want. And I'm a little salty I missed it because it's better than the setups that were on NQ in terms of how I like to trade. We set a low in this zone right here. We broke that with increasing volume, came up and retested this zone as well as the previous low. So we got a retest and a rejection off the previous zone, broken zone, and broken previous low. So that entry right there is absolutely beautiful. Then once we get that break, that lower low, you can take profit on the continuation on the break of a new low. We got a huge candle afterwards. Of course, you don't know that that's going to happen necessarily. But if you just look at this sequence, form your high, a lower high, break that low a day and this demand zone, come up and retest and reject off both. That's beautiful for continuation. So I missed that in the morning. I was watching NQ. I saw this after it had happened. I noticed it when this candle was occurring, just the setup that happened. And that would have been really, really nice. That's kind of what I would be looking for in terms of break and retest and get continuation. So same thing though, middle of the day, get some more chop. kind of more range, and then ES had an absolute insane move to the upside at the end of the day. So I think that's actually is that new all-time high here? Not on ES, but I believe SPY has a new all-time high as of today. Let's take a look. So I'm not talking. Nope, not quite. All right, close to it. But nonetheless, missed kind of some opportunities. Yeah, I think just being more patient and continue to learn from that. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. I do trade live Monday through Friday. So we'll be here. Actually, I'm just noticing this. I'll be here tomorrow. We have a market closed on Thursday. Didn't quite hit that trend line. I was wanting to extend to see if we did. Market is closed Friday, so tomorrow's the last day of the week to trade, and then we'll be back next week and we do the same thing. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Goodbye.